Welcome to day 23 of the 30-day holiday video challenge. Today, we're decorating some cupcakes for Christmas. Hi there, foodie friends. My name is Carly, and welcome to my channel, Adventures in Yum. Before we get into today's video, I have a passion for learning about creating and trying new foods, drinks, and especially desserts. If you want to join me on my yummy adventures, then please make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so that you'll know when I upload new videos every week. Now, let's get into today's video. Our first design is a Mickey Mouse Santa cupcake. We start by poking the bottom of a Hershey's Kiss with a tool like what you see here. This is a scribe tool. We then dip the Kiss in red candy melts that have been thinned with a little bit of vegetable oil. We use a fork to pop that off the stick and onto a piece of parchment paper to let the candy melts harden. Once that's ready, we pipe some buttercream onto our cupcake. For this cupcake, I decided to pipe dollops of white buttercream using a Wilton 1M piping tip. Next, we add a second layer of buttercream by piping little dollops of green buttercream using a Wilton 4B piping tip. We then pipe a swirl of white buttercream using a Wilton number 16 piping tip, place our candy melt covered Kiss on top of that, and add a little dollop of buttercream on top of the Kiss. Finally, we take 2 Ghirardelli dark chocolate melting wafers and stick them into the buttercream on either side of the Santa hat. And there's our finished cupcake. You can also just add a couple of swirls of white buttercream when starting to decorate this cupcake, but the pop of color really makes that hat stand out. Our second design is a simple piped Santa hat. This is very similar to piping the Santa hat meringues in my Christmas meringue cookie video. We simply pipe a rosette or swirl of white buttercream using a Wilton 1M piping tip. Next, we pipe a cone of red buttercream using a Wilton 1A piping tip. And finally, we add a dollop of white buttercream using a Wilton tip number 21. And that's all there is to it. Our third design is one that I actually tried out last year, which is holly and berries. We start with the flower nail with a piece of parchment paper on it, and a piping bag fitted with either a Wilton 103 tip or a 104 tip and filled with green buttercream. We then hold the bag at about a 45-degree angle, and we have the rounded end of the piping tip aimed toward us and the pointed end away from us. While continuously piping, we pipe a zigzag line of buttercream away from us, slightly turn the flower nail, and then pipe a backward zigzag line to mirror the one that we just made. This will take some practice, but I know you can get the hang of it. Once we're done, we carefully remove the parchment paper square, place it on a tray, and after piping more holly leaves, we pop that in the freezer until these are completely frozen. I somehow don't have a video of the actual assembly of this, but we basically remove the frozen leaves from the parchment paper, place about 3 of them on a cupcake, and then use a Wilton size 10 or 12 piping tip to add 3 dollops of buttercream to the center to represent the berries. And that's it. Our fourth design is a poinsettia. We're using a Wilton 366 tip to pipe 6 petals on top of a cupcake, followed by 6 smaller ones on top of that, and they're piped so that they overlap those gaps between the bottom petals. We then use a Wilton tip number 4 to pipe little dots of yellow buttercream in the center. You can certainly use yellow nonpareil sprinkles instead for that part. And that's it for a pretty poinsettia cupcake. Our fifth design is one of my personal favorites, Christmas wreaths. These are so easy, but they look really lovely. We're starting by piping a swirl of white buttercream on top of the cupcake to act as our base. Here I'm using a Wilton size 21 tip. We then pipe little green dollops of buttercream around the perimeter of the top of the cupcake using a separate tip 21. We then add some sprinkles like these Christmas color nonpareils and some gold star sprinkles. These are simple but so pretty to make. I couldn't help myself, so I also had to do a winter themed cupcake, and I think it looks equally gorgeous. Alternative ways to pipe a wreath include using a Wilton 352 leaf tip to pipe green leaves as the base of the wreath, or simply piping a circle of green buttercream using a Wilton 21 piping tip. Before we see even more fun decorating ideas, if you're getting value out of this video, then please make sure to hit that like button, click subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified about my latest video. Our sixth cupcake design is a Christmas tree, which can be done a few ways. The first Christmas tree is basically the same as piping the meringue cookies I shared the other day. Using a piping bag fitted with a Wilton 4B tip, we pipe 3 dollops right on top of each other, starting with a large dollop on the bottom and getting smaller as we go up. We add a gold star sprinkle on top and then some rainbow nonpareil sprinkles to represent our lights and ornaments. We also add an optional little border using white buttercream and a Wilton tip 21 around the bottom to finish off this cupcake. Our second Christmas tree is simply piped onto the top of a cupcake using a Wilton 103 or 104 petal tip. We hold the piping bag so that the pointed part of the tip faces up and away from the cupcake. We pipe a zigzag of buttercream, starting narrow at one side of the cupcake and getting wider as we pipe across the cupcake. We then add a gold star sprinkle to the top of the tree and some other sprinkles to represent the ornaments. And that's it for this one. Our final version of a Christmas tree is probably one of my top favorites. We cut the end off of a waffle or sugar ice cream cone, coat the outside in a little bit of buttercream, place it on a cupcake, and pipe dollops of buttercream using a small star tip like a Wilton 18 tip. We start at the bottom and pipe all the way to the top of the cone. We add a gold star sprinkle to the top and then add some sprinkles to represent our ornaments on the tree. Here I'm carefully placing dragées, which look amazing, but the only downside is that they're only for decorative use on desserts and shouldn't be actually consumed. Besides that, I absolutely love how this turned out. Our seventh and final decoration is a snowman. This is super simple. We add a tiny bit of white candy melts to the top of a regular size marshmallow and place a second regular size marshmallow on top of that. We press it down a little bit and then set that aside to let the candy melts completely harden. We now add an orange Jimmy sprinkle by gently pressing it slightly into the center of the top marshmallow. We then use a black edible marker, either extra fine tip or candy melt marker, to draw dots for the eyes and mouth. We then use a brown extra fine tip edible marker to draw arms on the bottom marshmallow. We decorate this cupcake by using a Wilton 1M tip to pipe a rosette of white buttercream, and we add optional winter-themed sprinkles. And finally, place the snowman in the center of the top of the cupcake. And that's it! Isn't he so cute? You can also find these cupcake decorating ideas on my website, adventuresinYum.net. The link is in the description below. Make sure to come back tomorrow for day 24 because we're going to be making a scrumptious cheesecake. If you're interested in checking out some of the products that I used in this video, then please make sure to check out the video description below for their Amazon links. Thank you so much for joining me today, foodie friends. I'll see you next time for another joyful, yummy adventure.